to our Parks and Rec Commission meeting. And let's see, I printed this out. A roll call. Let's have a roll call, please. Thank you, Jonathan.
Chair Eisen.
Here.
Vice Chair Stamper.
Here.
Commissioner Black.
Here.
You have a quorum, and I just want to note, with 3 commissioners, we will need all of you on camera at 100%. Otherwise, we will lose a quorum.
Good. All right. Thank you, Jonathan. That's good. All right. Let's look at the approval of the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. I had a chance to look through this. Looks good. The little library, Parks Master Plan, project, art development policy, future items. It said the art policy at a future meeting. It turned out to be this meeting, which is nice. Okay. All right. Very good. So can I get a motion for approving the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Okay.
I
I'll
second.
All right, Hillary, great. All those in favor of approving, say aye, aye.
Aye.
Yes. Good, all right, minutes approved. Let's go to announcements and correspondence. Any?
Jonathan, do you are you aware of any? I'm not aware of any. That
No, I don't believe we have any announcements or correspondence tonight.
I think
Okay.
we'll cover most issues within the context of actual specific items. So let's.
Right, okay,
No.
good. Do we have anyone in the public in the forum? Anybody who wants to speak about any subject other than what's on the agenda?
I don't see any hands raised, Madam Chair. Or
Okay, confirmed, all right. So let's go to the city council updates.
Sure, it was a busy evening with the council. We this was our one meeting of August, so on the 17th. Just trying to figure out what I was going to talk a little bit about this, but the council awarded the construction contract for Poplar parallel path and traffic calming at Poplar Street. So that's, I think, quite exciting. And we also got an amendment to the contract with ELS for design work on the corporation yard, which is exciting. I know it's kind of peripherally exciting, but without those guys and without the equipment and without that facility, our parks don't get maintained. So I'll make the connection back that that's a very good thing for all. And also from a public safety and emergency services side. And then we also had the council authorized and blessed the deassociation of the moon statue. And finally, I think in that list, they authorized us to proceed with looking at facilities master planning for Smith Field. And part of that was in light of a potential major donation for work there, particularly potentially paving, parking access, and perhaps other aspects of Smithfield. We did not establish an absolute cost on that. We will come back after we have a scope of work and a architecture firm to prepare and work through this process. And why don't I talk a little bit more about that in the context of plan of update on master plan. So if that's all right, I think I'll go there.
Okay, before you do that, can I ask you about the half moon removal? When is that? Is there a date that that's going to happen?
How about soon? I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be tomorrow. Todd was working with we have Andrini brothers on it. They were scheduled for tomorrow. I think that slipped a bit, but we're looking within the next week to 10 days for that to occur.
Okay, all right, good.
Soon.
All right, good.
And then I think, you know, We also had the short-term rentals, and that's really not related to this, but something that the community obviously has some interest in. I think the other piece to that is that we ultimately had the hazard mitigation plan, and again, not really related to parks, recreation so much, but yet it does relate to everything we do around here. And that's worth a read if you have a chance to look at it and deal with it. We are one chapter of a countywide plan that sort of evaluates all the potential kind of hazards, fire, flood, tsunami, all of those things, and then identifies strategies and everything to one, try to mitigate those, and then ultimately to try to at least direct how we respond to them. So worth a read if you're well, if you have time on your hands, let's say. Other than that, I think that covers the council meeting. One other item, which I think is of importance coming up, the council did ask that Bob schedule for September 7th a discussion on the status of particularly the Pumpkin Festival. And I think this falls along in summer's end as well. And so if you were interested in that, council's concerned about COVID activity. How do we address large events, large numbers of people, and all of those things? So, you know, no one can say where that's going at this point. We're going to be providing, or we and the big we, Bob is going to be, and staff are going to be preparing a report, but we're just giving information. Council's going to deliberate on that. But if you're interested in that, please participate on the 7th as residents. So a lot of good stuff on the meeting. With
All
that.
right.
Are we allowed to make any comments about that?
If you have any questions, yeah.
I just had one quick comment. I saw that the city hosted something on Nextdoor about the yard. And I just wanted to note that the first comment was a little bit along the lines of something that kind of came up with when we talked about the yard in this meeting, which was, can we please make it into a park? And so I just think that was, it's worth mentioning. And I have a feeling that there's going to be enthusiasm for this being something more than a parking lot for people. So that's all.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, very good. Next, we have recreation updates.
Thanks, John.
Take it away, Eddie.
Take it away, Eddie.
Good evening, everyone. A couple of recreation updates for you. The first one actually pertains to the Summer's End Music Festival. Last meeting, we had discussed our need for our 5 nonprofits to table down at our nonprofit tent, Summer's End Music Festival, and the commission had a really great idea to kind of offer that invitation first to those nonprofits that weren't awarded a grant through the city's grant program, which was a great idea. And we had reached out to them, extended that invitation, and we had set today as kind of our day to filter through those submissions of groups interested in participating, kind of pick the 5 groups that we thought would be the best fit for the Summer's End. Well, we actually got exactly 5 nonprofits that were interested in participating and wanted to come out. So it doesn't warrant any kind of selection process or vote or anything. So we have our 5, and I'll go ahead and list those off to you. 2 of them are nonprofits that were present at the 2019 event, which was really great to have returning groups come. That's ALAS and the Pacific Beach Coalition. So they're interested and they're willing to come, and they have some great ideas about what they want to do at their station. And then we have 3 new nonprofits that want to show up and participate as well. And that's Coast Pride, the Coastside Mountain Bikers Group, and the Mavericks Community Foundation. So we were able to find 5 nonprofits that wanted to come down, have fun with us that day on the 25th. Again, all contingent on the outcome of the council meeting on the 7th, whether or not, you know, they deem it safe to hold the event and continue forward with the planning. So time will tell on that one. We'll all know on the 7th what that decision is, but I thought that was worth an update for today.
Very good.
And also one more update, some progress, not as much as some might like, but we've talked over the last few months about the citywide camera usage policy and our need for that here at the community center skate park due to issues and incidents that have become like a recurring issue. So we've worked hard, Matthew and I, with the Administrative Services Department over the last few months to develop a rough draft policy, and we've worked through that and had a lot of edits and gone back and forth. And we really feel like we have a kind of a final policy to present to Bob Nisbet and to the city attorney. So our goal is once Matthew comes back from his vacation, he'll give it a final once over, and then we'll send that to Bob for his final approval. And the goal is at the next meeting, we'll be able to present you that policy and be able to move forward from there with purchasing equipment and materials for that project. So some progress, not tons, but I thought it was worth an update.
We actually had a little bit of conversation in a staff meeting today about that, and legal will be and is in the process of taking a look at that issue. There are some unique issues just with regard to public records and record keeping and how long do you have to keep information. So we're having to run through some of just the state mandates and requirements that go along with this with creating a record that's unique and everything with that. So anyway, that it is in process. We are working on it. I think Bob would agree. We are all in concurrence that that we really should have a policy in place and ultimately have some security cameras around in limited locations and circumstances.
Okay, was that it, Eddie? Because I
That-
do have some comments, questions for you on
Absolutely.
with recreation.
Go right ahead.
First of all, for those of you, because I have not seen any of my fellow commissioners at all at the concerts that that the city's been putting on Saturdays at McDutra Plaza in August. I've gone to 2 out of the 3 that have happened so far, and I'm the only one representing our commission. So I really encourage, there's only 1 concert left of this series. That's this Saturday. I encourage all of you to come, first of all. The other thing I did want to ask you about, Eddie, at these concerts, having an MC, I think is really important. I know that I went to one of the park concerts over the hill in Redwood City, and then I went one in San Mateo. They have like the vice mayor there. They have somebody there to welcome people to the concert, talk about safety, masks, this, that, and also talk about upcoming concerts and what else is happening in our future. And I think that that's really good, really important, and I'd really like to see us have that. We had that before when we were doing concerts at McDutra. I'd like to see that. Plus, I also would like to see Carter Park Energy. I'd like to see the design on the table, maybe a Friends of Parks and Recreation, it's because we want to, it's just like I think we need to approach this, like I've said, like the library, which is to build excitement, build community input, build that, generate that energy where the whole town is looking forward to something. And, so I really think we miss opportunities at these concerts, which have been well attended, which is really nice to see. The first concert, Ticket to Ride, I mean, I arrived there on my bicycle and like to a throng of people, and I was like just thrilled. I mean, it was wonderful to see. And the second concert also had a good crowd, so we're doing well. Like that has been building and that's going well. But there's just, let's capitalize on those situations. Okay, so that's my input there. Anyone else with any comments about recreation at this point? Okay, so let's go Parks Master Plan implementation.
Okay, thanks. So touching on some of that, back to the issue of Carter Park, the request for proposals are due, the responses to the request for proposals for the project management, construction management are actually due tomorrow, 26th. So we will be going through those in the very near future, hopefully formulating a recommendation and getting that to the council for hiring of a firm to help us work through the next stages of that project. We are also have been in back in through plan review just to check things again, and there's some minor things that we're working on dealing with it. So rest assured, no one is sitting on their hands with regard to Carter Park. We are moving it forward, and we will continue to move it forward. And nothing in the schedule I laid out last time has changed in between then and now. So I think we're fine. But the big step for us is getting a partner in to help us manage the construction and help us through the award of the bid for construction of this project too. So that's a big one.
Good.
We have been working on we're working on getting some bids for improvements at Ocean View Park. We are at this point envisioning a swing and another piece of apparatus that is ADA compliant. So we would have kind of our first pieces of equipment for all kind of pieces. We're looking at some other pieces there. So we'll formulate that a little better and bring back what's happening. But that is funded through the council's approval of our Parks Master Plan implementation program. So there is money available there. So that's exciting. I think one of the things that when we look at the Corporation Yard site, 880 Stone Pine, one of the pieces of that project is the potential for a trailhead location for a future trail. I think that's important. Again, more on the trail side, but beyond that, also reserving a location for a potential fairly large community garden site. So from the perspective of providing perhaps a little more to the community and back, that's something that the city council, I think, has made a priority, and obviously staff understands and recognizes that, again, out of the Parks Master Plan, that is something important. I won't take away Hillary's thunder, but she will have great news to report from the subcommittee on beach volleyball. But I'll let her wrap that one and work from there. I would just say, in general, I was out and about today and last week, even looking at some of our sites, facilities, and things. And I think I'm prejudiced, but I think our maintenance crew are doing an excellent job out there. Smithfield, I was really pleased with Smithfield and how it's looking. And again, Frenchman's and all the things we're working through. So if you see them, and you like what they're doing, say hi and thank them for it. They don't get a lot of feedback from folks. So that's always appreciated from them. So that really is the limits. I'm happy to answer obviously any questions that you might have beyond that.
John, okay, John, anyone have any questions?
Did you want to, I didn't talk about Smithfield. I probably should talk about Smithfield a little bit too. So
Okay.
Didn't know if that was going to be a question, but I should have added it. So this, as I mentioned in the prior conversation there, we did receive we have received a call and had conversations with Half Moon Bay Little League, who was reached out to from a potential funder who is interested in seeing improvements made to Smithfield. Notably, it started with a conversation about the parking lot and the driveway, and and the lack of paving and sort of an improved area and the conditions out there. And we understand that there's been maybe some additional conversations with the Little League about perhaps other improvements out there, and I can't speculate to what those might be or will be. In light of this offer, we had prior capital improvement programs, a plan for doing a facilities master planning effort for Smithfield, also for the Johnston House property, also for the Civic Center site as well. So at this point, the council authorized us to proceed with putting together a scope of work and getting cost estimates in place and come back to them with that as a package to basically develop this facilities master plan. And let me just say what the facilities master plan sort of covers. One, we want to do a survey and topographic survey and basic survey out there. I don't know when the last time or if we've ever actually completed one. I have not found one in there. I know there's been some work done in the past, but that is a critical issue for us no matter what we do. So that'll be a requirement for work. We're also going to be looking at obviously issues of drainage, where things go. The topographic is pretty important for understanding where things are going. We would look at a base biological report that would look at and evaluate, and just not necessarily a full biological resource assessment, but a cursory look to identify potential concerns, issues, so we can start to look at what potential cost and what potential additional studies are necessary. And then finally, we would look at an architecture firm that would develop a concept plan following conducting of community workshops, community outreach, stakeholder outreach, and identifying sort of what's out there. So we don't want to just focus on a parking lot. We want to focus on the entirety of the site, particularly the 13.2 acres of the developed area. We will certainly look at beyond that point with the additional area that we have, equaling about 27 acres or another 17 acres. But frankly, my hope and my thought process is that that's a challenge and it's in and of itself, and we may not be ready for that. But at least we take a look at what we can do and what we should be doing, and looking at the programming based on what the master plan says, based on what the community is saying, and just start to look at that from that perspective. So that's that. When I speak about that as a facilities master plan, that is what we're talking about. In the end, that gets us to a point that we can do concept level cost estimates for incremental pieces of improvements, including that which may be desired to be funded by a party from the community with that. So that's the intent and the plan. Obviously, the Parks and Rec Commission will have a major role in that, helping facilitate that, and will be consulted and work through with that. So you're going to be a part of that process. So I'll stop there and take any questions on any of that if you wish.
All right,
I just,
Hillary? Yeah. go
yeah,
ahead.
just really quickly, am I understanding correctly that like it's still just unclear what what exactly the other than parking lot, what we're talking about there?
Yes.
Okay. So just some kind of general like baseball themed improvements, or overall, because they
So
approached the Little League. So
yes. So our while the potential funder chooses to work through a kind of a third party, and they've chosen the Little League just because they are a major stakeholder out there. That does not mean we're strictly looking at from a Little League perspective. Staff's interest is a broader scope than just the Little League or just Junior Giants or just basically the use of those fields. So we want to expand that. Our plan is not to just focus on Little League alone, but obviously they are a major stakeholder, and we want to encourage their participation, and I think they have interest. But We have told the potential parties that we expect, if we're looking at paving, that we would pave out the areas and improve the areas by the dog park, for example, in the horseshoe area. We also, can look at issues. I know at one point we were talking about, could we expand and could we put beach volleyball in that area? I think it's worth a conversation. I'm not sure, that seems to be a mixed interest in that concept, but it's at least, I think, worth talking about as we, based on the interest of having something more permanent, something year round. So for an example, that's something that we expect might come up in the conversation,
I
and we
see.
want to hear about that.
And the other thing I would just flag too is just the existing fields. I don't really know very much about baseball, but I do know a lot about soccer, and the current Smith Fields, the condition that they're in is just so full of holes and stuff that it's very, very difficult to use them for multiple purposes. And certainly I'm hoping that one thing that could be flagged is that whatever we do, a huge improvement would just be making sure that the fields can be used by more people, because there's certainly
Sure.
times when they're available.
Through the chair, let me just say this. I appreciate what you're saying, and I want to hear you, and I want to listen to you and everything with that. What I'm going to suggest is a kickoff is that we actually agendize a conversation about and do a little bit of an outreach process and take that up with the entire commission. Perhaps the next meeting, I'm open to that, and talk about that. So we can go into the depth and detail that you're interested in dealing with. I think all your comments are valid. Don't let me invalidate them in any way by saying that. But we're pushing the edge of a report out on sort of where we are in implementation to a conversation about a specific item, which I would prefer to have on the agenda as an actual item listed and dealing with it strictly from a product perspective. Okay.
So John, an agenda item to talk about Smith Field specific, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would put it in an outreach as part of our outreach effort to talk about your thoughts and ideas about programming and about what the future of Smithfield could look like and what should we be focusing on with that. So, and the community can participate in that as well. So it'll be an early kickoff meeting to our outreach effort, and I'm happy to do that now. There's no harm in doing that, and it'll help us. It'll help me working on the scope, because at this point, the way this got worked out was I agreed to basically do the project management on that. That may not be designed to be a happy thing for anybody, but particularly even me, but I'm excited about it. It's something I wanted to do, and I just couldn't allocate this or delegate this to any other staff. So you got me, good or bad, and but I am engaged and interested in it. So we'll make this happen and push it forward together.
It'll be super interesting.
I think it will be.
All right, John, I just thank you so much. I just want to go back to your mention of the community garden. I want to make sure that I'm clear about, I thought we had identified a magnolia. Is that not going, are we not moving forward with that idea?
It's in addition to, so Magnolia, Seymour, that area, we are still proceeding with. The biotic reports are being prepared. I think they're being finalized. We have some design work going. I've seen those contracts moving forward. So that is still on the table.
So that's still on the table. So you're saying another possibility. So you're saying another possibility is the courtyard?
Is an additional opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Great. All right. Okay, thank you so much, John. Appreciate that update. Now let's get an update from the Friends of Half Moon Bay Parks. Maria?
I'm here. Hi, guys. Yeah, so I would say I am, like I said in the beginning of the meeting, I am just back. I have been gone like since July 5th. So I'm still in touch with things going on, but I haven't been in Half Moon Bay, which has been kind of odd. I actually drove my kids not that everyone needs to know, but across the country and back. So it was really fun.
Unbelievable.
It was an adventure for all, but I would also say
No,
that the entire Friends board, I would say a big chunk of the board has been gone. And so that's why you haven't heard from us as much and seen us around as much. We've had limited people at the concerts in the park, which we were so excited about, but then it was like everyone was gone. So we've had people there, and we're excited for the last concert of this weekend. But it has been, limited in what we could do, unfortunately. But we're gearing up for Summer's End. We're very excited. Actually, it's very funny because I seriously think I get text messages once a day at least about it, something going on. We're doing donations. We're working on everyone's very excited. We're getting volunteers to get involved, getting more of our membership involved in coming to Summer's End. So we're excited about it. We're hopeful everything works out. That being said, because I was gone and I was actually driving, I was literally driving from Massachusetts back here, which is where I grew up. I was driving back, and Matthew, Eddie, and Sharzad had a fantastic meeting, which I watched today. I'm getting caught up on everything going on. And so I'll be starting to send some emails out in relation to that and to follow up on a lot of those things. But they had a really good meeting about, kind of where the commission is, where we need to be, to get us all on the same page again, which is really great. I was really happy to hear that and to see it. So that just happened a couple days ago. And then I know there's Carter Park discussions and what's going on with that. So I'm excited to get geared up and get involved and connected with all of those things. I did want to mention that the COVID relief grant that Adam, our lovely commissioner, did send to me, we got. So it was very exciting for
Wow.
Friends of General Operating. And I'm actually in the process right now, which was very intense today, but I have a big deadline this Friday for another grant we're applying for general operations. So I know we've talked about it a lot, because Friends has been struggling with general operations versus restricted giving, and where we've been going for, months now. I mean, really, it was a strategy in the past versus where we're going in the future. But we're working on trying to get more general operations. So it's a good thing where we're going, and the direction is good on where we're heading. The other thing a couple other things I wanted to mention is that we are looking for new board members. So if anyone knows of someone you think that would be good for the Friends board meeting, or Friends board, if you think of someone that would be good for the board or that might be just interested in being involved, please send that person to me and we'll vet them and talk to them about it and see if they're interested. But, the board is small. We have 10 people on our board, plus some liaisons like Paulette and, Mavericks people and a few other people. But it would really help the board if we could expand the board so we could raise more money, because we're small. 10 is not big enough to raise enough money that we want to raise. And we want to keep expanding. They keep talking about it as a board. I keep thinking about it too. We could do so much more as a board if we had a bigger board. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. If you have anyone you can think of, please email me at info@halfmoonbayparksandrec.org. And we'll go from there. Or it's HMBPRC.org, excuse me. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that we are doing a membership drive still. So if you're not a member and you want to join, we'd love to have you. And you can look about it online. Again, our website is all updated with that info. And if you have any questions, again, email me at the email address I just talked about, info@hmbparks.org. But we would love to have more members because we're really trying to build our membership. This next year, we're really just going to keep pushing our membership. Our communications, we're sending out emails now every other month. So if there's things you want us to publicize, Paulette or anybody, please let me know. We have other people sending me emails to update and put in the e-newsletter. It goes out every other month. So that is my update right now.
All right, Maria. Well, thank you. But I do have something to take up with you, which I hope either you can put it in this newsletter or whatever, but back to Carter Park.
Yep.
I went to as I said, I've gone to the concerts in the park. The last one I was at, Paul Pantera was there.
Yep.
And we got into somewhat of a heated discussion because he's going on about basically not supporting Carter Park. And I was like, why? What's what? And he goes, well, we don't think that that spending $30 million is the right thing to do. And I like, what? Where did you get that number? So there's obviously something going on in the communication with friends. If he's under the impression that Carter Park is going to cost in the neighborhood of $30 million, I had to, let him know what the real story is. He looked at me like he doesn't believe a word I'm saying. But that's an important thing. I mean, I walked away from there feeling like Friends is not very supportive of the whole Carter Park project, if this is what I am getting from this person.
Wow.
So yes, so I definitely wanted to let you know, because I think that it's important to educate anybody who's involved with Friends,
Yep.
for them to be understand what Carter Park is about, what the costs are, what we're looking for, what
Yep.
we need to raise. I mean, I'm hoping that happened in the meeting you had with Matthew and Sharzad, and so that, but it needs to be obviously communicated to her husband and to others in the group, so that everyone's clear on what this is about. Because
You know what?
yeah,
I'll just
we
say,
have to be on the same page.
yep, I was just gonna say, I'll take care of it. Don't even worry about it, because we have a meeting next week. We'll talk about it then. But I would
Okay.
say Friends is supportive of Carter Park, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. And I don't know what happened there, but I will communicate and find out and correct. Or I will communicate, find out what's going on and make sure we're all on the same page. But yeah, I
Excellent.
watched the video again. I wasn't in the meeting with Matthew, Sharzad, and Eddie. But I don't think there's any, I don't think you have to worry about it. So we'll
Okay.
figure it out. We'll take care of it, and don't worry too much, because we are supportive of Carter Park.
Okay, great.
All right.
Very good to hear. Thanks, Maria.
Of course.
All
Thank
right.
you. Talk to y'all soon.
All right, great. All right, now we have our guests from Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District, and we're ready for your presentation. Welcome.
Good evening, commissioners. Let me share my screen with you. And let me put it into the proper mode. Is everybody seeing the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, commissioners, for letting us give this presentation to you. My name is Mike Williams. I'm the real property manager at Mid-Peninsula Open Space District, and Ailish Ryan is with me this evening as well. She's a senior planner with the district. And the project we wanted to present to you is the proposed purchase of the Johnston Ranch Uplands property as an addition to the district's Miramontes Ridge Open Space Preserve. And then I'll orient you on the map. So the yellow property in the middle of the screen is the Johnston Ranch property. And it forms urban boundary to the city of Half Moon Bay. It has frontage on Highway 1. It is bisected by Higgins Canyon Road. It's also bisected by the Arroyo Leon Creek, which feeds into Pelarcitos Creek and provides spawning habitat for steelhead trout. Burley Murray Ranch State Park is located to the east, and Mid-Penn's Miramontes Ridge Preserve both to the north and the east. Land uses. The uplands area on the north side of Higgins Road is in cattle grazing for over 20 years with local rancher Tom Pacheco. and that will continue under district ownership. On the south side of the creek, I wanted to point out that access is very difficult from Higgins Canyon Road because of the Arroyo Leon and the ag field that is on this property. This property has been fallow for over 20 years, really doesn't have infrastructure for grazing. In the center of the property is the city's Johnston House property. Across the street, on the north side of the street, is the Giusti family's farm compound. And the Giusti family has farmed the prime ag fields on this property on the western boundary since the late 1940s. On the private property, that's where they do processing of their vegetables that they grow, including Brussels sprouts. And so that's kind of an orientation of the property. And then I wanted to go into the reasons for the purchase. And I'll mention back in 2014, the district had a funding measure. And so voters of San Mateo County, the San Mateo Coast, and Northern Santa Clara County approved a bond measure in 2014, and it selected 25 projects. And this project is within the first project, Miramontes Ridge, gateway to the San Mateo County coast. It includes public access, stream restoration, and agricultural enhancements. This purchase would preserve and support local agriculture, both the farming and the livestock grazing, and open space at the rural-urban boundary of the city. It protects over a half a mile of the Arroyo Leon, providing spawning habitat for steelhead trout. It creates opportunities to implement local and regional trail accessibility from downtown Half Moon Bay to the Miramontes Ridge Preserve, Burley Murray State Park, and to the east, the Bay Area Ridge Trail, and to the west, the California Coastal Trail. And then one of the really exciting aspects of this project is the partnership with the city of Half Moon Bay for future shared trailhead and parking on the Johnston House property. And I will note, it has been a pleasure working with Bob and his staff on this project. I'm going to cover the purchase terms, and then I'm going to go back to a map. So we're proposing to purchase an undivided approximate 59% interest in the 868-acre Johnston Ranch property for $4.8 million. And because this is a shared interest, the district and post will enter into a tenancy in common agreement. And that would allow the district, or provide for the district, to have exclusive use and management of the 644-acre uplands area, and post would retain exclusive use and management of the farm area at 224 acres. And post would assign a long-term conservation grazing lease and rangeland management plan to the district with the local rancher. The final property transfer is subject to San Mateo County approval of a lot line adjustment application, which would create a 644-acre uplands property and the 224-acre farm property. Post would retain the farm property for future sale to a farmer, subject to an agricultural conservation easement. The $4.8 million purchase price is based on the value of the 644-acre uplands property. Okay, so now we have the same property, but it's colored. And the purple portion represents the uplands area at 644 acres. And as mentioned, this area up here is grazed by Tommy Pacheco. The Giusti family farms the yellow area, and that's the 224-acre farm property. And then this upland area is fallow and it's adjacent to the city's property. And then I wanted to talk about the partnership agreement that we entered into in September of 2019 with the city, Peninsula Open Space Trust, for the Johnston Ranch and Johnston House property. As part of that agreement, Post has already granted recently the city a public trail easement along the south side of Higgins Canyon Road. And that starts at the current safety crossing project that the city looks like getting close to completing at Highway 1 and Main Street. And it would go along the south side of the road to the Johnston House, providing for ped and bike access from downtown. It also allows for dog use on leash. In exchange for that, the city granted Post an access easement across the western boundary of the Johnston House property, providing farm access, but also for the district's future ownership, patrol and maintenance access to the uplands and to the reservoirs that are on the property for irrigating of the farm fields. This partnership agreement with the city supports continued existing agricultural uses on the Johnston Ranch property, including the farming and the grazing. It also supports protection of the Arroyo Leon Creek. The agreement with the city also supports regional trail connections to the state park and the Miramontes Ridge Preserve from the uplands. And then once again, MidPen and the city will collaborate on future trail planning and shared use of expanded parking and a trailhead on the Johnston House property to support a loop trail opportunity to the uplands property. And I've got another map for you here. And so once again, same property, but I wanted to show you where the trail easement that was granted. It's right along the southern boundary of Higgins Road from the city's safety crossing to the Johnston House property. And that would provide conceptually for a loop trail experience on the uplands above the city's property. And then from a regional standpoint, from the north side of the property, opportunity for a trail connection to Burley Murray and to Miramontes Ridge Preserve.
Awesome.
And here's another picture of the same area. And once again, here's the safety crossing, and I've got pictures. Here's the 30-foot wide trail easement, and the farmer has moved his field fencing to accommodate that. And you know where the Coastside Fire Station is. You've got your historic train depot, and I wanted to note that the commissioners will be invited next Tuesday afternoon, 4:30 p.m. We're holding our real property committee, which consists of 3 of our board members, to consider this purchase. The event will be outdoors at the east, in the field at the east end of the train depot. It will be with spacing, and masks will be required, and outside. And feel free to come join us on the 31st at 4:30. And then, of course, as you know, with the safety crossing, there's an existing bike trail that runs along Highway 1, and then there are also trail connections to the California Coastal Trail. So this is a relatively recent picture of the safety crossing. Quite a bit of work has been done since I took this picture. And then in the lower right-hand corner, you can see where the ag fencing is on the right. And so this ped bike trail would be located between the farm fencing and the power poles. And it would take you from downtown Half Moon Bay to your Johnston House property. And then from a regional trail standpoint, our partner, Peninsula Open Space Trust, has a collaborative group which the city of Half Moon Bay has participated, county parks, Redwood City, the Open Space District, Coastside Land Trust. And the Bay to the Sea concept is to take you from the California Coastal Trail, and here's the Johnston property, up to the Ridge Trail, to the Bayside, and ultimately the San Francisco Bay Trail. And so this represents the northern coastal segment of that trail. And I also wanted to mention that over the last 15 years in working with Post, MidPen has secured about 1,800 acres of property that will provide for a southern route, which we call the Purissima to the Sea property, because it reaches our Purissima Creek Redwoods Open Space Preserve. And all of those land rights to connect to the Cowell Purissima Coastal Trail are secured. And this last year, we started our initial trail evaluation and assessments. And with that, I will move along and show a couple of pictures, and then we'll get to some questions from the commission and comments. This is a view above the Johnston House, overlooking the ag fields. Higgins Road runs along here. This is Coastside Fire, and then this is the Pacific Ocean. You get a little higher up and you really see the Half Moon Bay crescent as well. And then this is looking the other direction. The Johnston House would be behind me, and you can see the kind of gentle grassland terrain. And this is where a proposed trail loop would be originating at the Johnston House. And then now this is on the ridge line on the north side of the property with a view of the southwest. At the bottom of this very kind of rugged bluff ridgeline, this is the Royal Leon watershed. This is Higgins Canyon Road. In the center of the screen is the ranch compound. There's a barn and corrals for the livestock. The barn was recently renovated by Post. It also stores hay for supplemental feed. And the grazing tenant periodically mows hay on this field over here. And then these are the stock watering ponds that are located on the property. And then the ag fields off to your right here, which are farmed by the Giusti family. With that, I'm happy to open it up to questions.
Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from my fellow commissioners? Hillary?
I do kind of have a question. I just, sometimes I don't know if this is the right place to ask them, but I'll just ask it and you can just tell me if it's like not a question you can answer. So with projects like this, where the agriculture protection is clearly baked into the project, I'm just kind of curious how something like a community garden fits in with something like that. Is that just considered totally a separate kind of agricultural experience, or are there instances where that could be considered as part of a project?
Are you talking about on the Johnston House property?
Well, just, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of agricultural land all around that property. And so, yeah, how would you differentiate something like what the farmer is doing individually versus what a community could also farm as part of a community garden.
Sure. So I'll go back a little bit. In 2004, we went through a 7-year voter initiative process to expand the district's boundaries to include the San Mateo coast. And we modified our mission, which basically provides for land conservation, natural resource protection, restoration, and low intensity public recreation. And we added support of viable agriculture. And so we are very supportive of keeping farming and farming on the San Mateo coast. And our nonprofit land trust Post works in general with row crop and farmers. And then we tend to enter into long-term grazing operations or leases with the grazing tenants. And we have opened up 2 properties, though they're a bit far off, but at our lower La Honda Preserve off of Highway 84 that have trails with cattle, livestock grazing, and then closer to Skyline at our Mindigo Hill property, which is part of our Russian Ridge Preserve. And so our agency is primarily works in the unincorporated areas of the county. And I should note this property, including the city's Johnston House property, are all located within the county. And this is a unique opportunity for us to work with a city, a neighboring city, where we have public access that would provide, local community access from a downtown area.
So, hey, Mike.
Getting back to
Mike,
yeah, yes.
Let me maybe
Sure.
help you on this. I think the question was slightly different, and maybe I'm off on that. I think the question really is what is the difference between agriculture that Justy's doing and the agriculture that perhaps a community garden would be doing?
Right.
I go simply to the definition of what agriculture is, and I'll read it of one of them. You can find many, but it's the science, art, and business of cultivating soil, producing crops, and raising livestock and farming. So really the difference is, I think, what we're talking about is the community garden is gardening. It's not about basically trying to run a business and create a business and a marketplace for that deal. And there is a distinction between what is defined as agriculture, which is what the Justy's are doing, for example, versus what a community garden is achieving. Both
Okay.
very worthwhile, but it's the issue of basically business versus a gardening kind of situation with that. So if that's where you were going, Hillary, that's what I got a sense you were.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep, because I was just trying to understand it clearly. I mean, it sounds like both Post and Mid-Penn Open Space have like pretty specific goals around the business use of agriculture. Is that correct?
That's correct. And thanks, John, for bailing me out. We support commercial or family agriculture on the San Mateo coast. We don't have any community gardens on our open space preserves.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. And it's kind of just part of how you have defined your work.
All right, so I have to continue on in a way with that is can we get a little background on the farming areas? Because you would be who has owned that land? Was it originally the Giusti? How did, who are you buying from? Who owns the farming land? And what is your agreement with the farmers who are continuing to farm and graze that land? Is it a lease arrangement? What is it? What have you got? I like to know exactly how this whole thing works.
Sure.
By the way, before just let me start with, I love the idea of this. Okay, nothing gets me more excited than more trails,
Me
more
too.
access, all of that. So I think like I know Hillary's also in that same zone. We're big supporters, but I just want to get more information as to how this all, how this all works.
Sure, and so the whole entire property is owned by Post. And Post purchased this in two phases. It was originally all a part of the historic Johnston Ranch, which included the Johnston House. And they purchased it in 1999 and 2000. And earlier in the 90s, there was a countywide ballot measure. This property had been purchased by developers for housing and golf course development.
Oh, okay.
And the county, I think, I'm forgetting, Eilish can help me out on the measure, but I think the county approved something like 86% again, voted against the development proposal on this. And so that this could not be expanded into the city's boundary for that kind of development. And shortly thereafter, Post came in and bought from the developers. And so Post leases currently to the grazing tenant on the north side of Higgins Road and to the Giusti family. However,
okay. So one second before you go any further.
Sure.
So are you saying the Giusti family just started at that point?
No, historically, the Giusti family owns this property here, but they have farmed this property since the late 1940s, but have never had an opportunity to own the land that they farm on this area.
So they've always been, what, leasing?
Yes.
Okay.
And in our ownership, we would assume the lease on the grazing property. Post would retain this property for future sale to the farmer, subject to an agricultural conservation easement, and Post would take out some of the development potential of the property to make it affordable for the farmer.
So is this locked? So this is locked in. The Giustis are part of this deal no matter what.
Well, it depends if they go forward. They've had long-term discussions with Post. I guess if they don't come to terms, Post would look for another private farmer to buy that property.
I have to say, Michael, this has always bothered me a little bit about this whole area because I'm a strong proponent of organic agriculture, and I'm really I've talked to Giustis, they have no interest in being organic. And it's disturbing to me because I know, that Post and your organization, everyone is into preserving, trying to, preserve what we can on this planet. And, having chemicals put on the land, having cattle on the land, all of these things are not sustainable, are not good for our water, are not good for our topsoil. None of this is great. And that's why I wonder what level of responsibility you guys take about that. Because, I look to you people as sort of our champions of trying to preserve our land.
Okay, that's a good question, and I will start with answering on the property that we're the area that we're considering purchasing and managing. We have a conservation grazing program, and that has reduced amount of cattle on the property with a rotation to keep minimum grass heights. We also do fencing to keep them out of riparian corridors, and they're looked at each year. That this year is certainly one of several drought years. Typically under our management, the cattle are taken off the property early, or the amount of cattle on the property are reduced. And it provides fuel management in this era of fires. And it's also done for improving the grassland quality and the resource value. And as far as the Arroyo Leon Creek on this property, one of the other things is any kind of pumping that's done from the creek. We're working with RCD to make sure there is less of that in the late summer months with off-stream storage, so that is it's a trade-off but improvement for that. You're not pumping water from the late summer months for fish that are in the creek. And so there are riparian buffers that will be on the agricultural easement on this property. And the agricultural easement also tries to protect the water resources and make sure that practices are sustainable. The Juicies try to do the minimal amount of spraying, usually on weekdays early in the morning, and with Brussels sprouts and the type of vegetables they grow, that is their practice. And so we are trying to put in provisions in conservation easements and in our management to protect the resources on these important properties.
Very good. All right, appreciate that. Thank you so much for that explanation. Anyone else? Pat, anyone, any comments?
Yes, I have a comment. I'm Pat Black. And I want to thank you so much, Michael Williams, for your report out. It's just amazingly, just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And, through the years and living here in San Mateo County and seeing what has happened and how you have preserved our open space, and being familiar with the Johnson property, and the vistas, and just, looking out. I mean, it's just such a joy, and especially to be part of Half Moon Bay, the city of Half Moon Bay, which I think does an awful lot to support the health and well-being of our community, and what you do. It's just really just so touching, and I feel very grateful for that. I'm a proponent of parks, and I'm a proponent of open space. And I was very fortunate to live in Redwood City when we were able to preserve Bear Island and some of the other areas that are on the bay. And so I just want to thank you and appreciate every word you shared, and a lot of information. It's going to take a while to process, but I'm very, very grateful. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes,
And
I'm super excited too. Yay, it looks awesome.
So I want to echo that. Very excited about this because, again, trails, greater access, and being able to enjoy the beauty there is something that we all would definitely be looking forward to. So thank you, Michael and Ailish, for coming to our meeting and for giving this presentation.
I see that your city manager has his hand up.
All right, that's right. There's the little hand. All right, hi, Bob.
Unless there's any other comments from the commissioners or anyone else. No. So I just wanted to also acknowledge the partnership and working with Mike and Mid-Penn and Post over the last couple of years on this. It has been, I think, over 2 years, Mike. I think this started right when I got here, so probably approaching 3 years. And that's how these big efforts go. It's just a little bit at a time. You have to have a long-term vision, I think. And so I just wanted to, maybe leave the commission with the idea of a long-term vision here. I look at, everything that's been done. I underscore everything that the three of you have just said, and the excitement that I kind of got from your comments, that you like what you see. I see my vision here is that could be so incredible. And so, you know, the commission and the city have talked about a community park. It's in our master plan. We've tried and not quite gotten there a couple times. I mean, this is staring us right in the face. And the possibility of everything that this could be in partnership with both Mid-Penn, Post, the GSDs. There's just so much opportunity here, in my opinion. I mean, this is what a regional park can be, because we have a historic building that is underutilized, and we can do so much more with that in terms of protecting it, enhancing it, and educating the public about the history. We have ag, which is constantly under threat. And to Hillary's point, you know, and is there a connection between the two? Well, I would say that, you know, John's right, they're different, but the connection is really the education component, which is a part of Mid-Penn's mission, certainly a part of ours. And so the idea is that to protect ag, you have to educate people why it's important. And you do that through community gardens. So when people get their hands dirty in a community garden that is in a park that is right next to local agriculture that was protected by a nonprofit, so it could be agriculture permanently, and there's a symbiotic relationship to have some interpretation, maybe even a visitor center goes in to educate. I mean, the possibilities are just endless here. And then of course the trails on the uplands and the connectivity and what we could do on our property in terms of, you know, it's bigger than you think in terms of making that our community park. I mean, the vision here is just off the charts, in my opinion. So I just wanted to kind of leave the commission with that visioning assignment. And I will leave you with one more assignment. And when you're on a Parks and Rec Commission, assignments are usually fun because it usually means you get to go on a field trip. So with all due respect to Mid-Penn, I'm going to jump to a different park district that I used to work for, East Bay Regional Parks. So I would encourage you, when you have some time, to visit Ardenwood Park. So Ardenwood Park is in Fremont. Drive over the bay, go to Ardenwood. It's on a bigger scale, but it does everything I just visioned. It was a historic orchard that was acquired by the East Bay Park District. They have respected all the historic buildings that are there. They have respected the agriculture. They have put in trails. They created a wedding venue so they can do weddings. There's things for kids. And it's all about a mix of respecting the history, interpretation, retaining ag, and creating a park that does something for everyone. So when you get a chance, take a look at Ardenwood. It's amazing. And on a smaller scale, that's what I think this could be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thanks again, Mike. Great presentation.
Yay.
Fantastic. Bob, that sounds like a great field trip for the Parks and Recreation Commissioners as well.
Yep.
That would be great. All right, thank you so much. Let's move on to the draft art policy review and discussion, which I am thrilled to see on the agenda. So.
Hold it.
Actually, we got a
Chamber of Commerce first.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I missed that. Chamber of Commerce. How could I miss that? Chamber of Commerce update. Absolutely. Here we go. Where's Crystalline? Is she still there?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
All right, great.
Great. Welcome to the back of my car. It got a little windy out there. I appreciate the comments about Smithfield because now as somebody who's played on it, I have lots of feelings. This update is primarily in regards to events. And so I wanted to give an update primarily on Nights of Lights. We will plan on hopefully doing it this year. I mean, granted, that can change if things don't improve with Delta, but assuming the best by December, we are going to stick with the change that we made in 2020 by having it be 4 Fridays, versus just one Friday with everything jam-packed in it. So there'll be one Friday dedicated to a lighting. There will be one Friday dedicated to a parade. And somebody very fun and fabulous gave me the idea to do a dog parade in there, which I think is such a fun addition. We possibly will do something with Make It Maine. The Make It Maine ends before then, but there's a real synergy. If anybody's visited a German Christmas market or have seen them, they're just so cool. And so we think that there's something awesome that could be done there. And then we're not totally sure what we'll do with the first of the Friday since it's right after Thanksgiving, but some kind of shop local tint to it. I have a presentation, well, not a presentation, but an agenda item on the Downtown Association's next meeting where we're just going to noodle ideas. So if anybody wants to be a part of that, please feel free to come. It'll be the first Thursday of the month, 9 a.m. at Mac Dutra Park. And again, it's just a noodle session. Since we have more days to play with, there's just so much more that we could do to be fun for everybody. And that's obviously all geared towards community awesomeness. So that was the main thing. And then something that my board just approved that I've been super excited about, it's a little more commercy, but if those of you who are familiar, we for 30 years have done farms, fish, and flowers. So that's taking people out to our local farms in the harbor, and they get in-depth tours of those things. It's literally one of our most popular events that people are just like really hounding us about all throughout the year, wanting to do it. So we have crafted one that's geared towards our restaurants, where people could go on a tour of restaurants and get a little behind the scenes and talk to the chef and taste some of this really great food and really just spend a day binging out and learning about the food of the coast. So that's something we're starting to put together as well. And then we'll have like our normal events like State of the Coastside in January and so on and so forth. And we're hoping, fingers crossed, that we'll be able to bring back Farm Day in March, because it's been 2 years since Farm Day, and that was such a beloved community event as well. So those are the main events that I could think of to chat about, but please feel free to ask me questions.
Great. Well, first of all, that sounds really fun. I like the idea of the 4 Fridays. I think that'll be really fun. Maybe we can, maybe I can go to this meeting, and maybe some of my other commissioners, if they are at all available, because maybe Parks and Rec could also do something, in that with those 4 Fridays, that one of them or whatever, to have something that we also do for Night of Lights. So that would be good. That would be a nice collaboration. That would be great. Now, I did want to ask you a question, because I'm trying to remember, did you ever tell me that at some point that you got the 501c3 standing, or it's still not, or you have it?
The chamber had a foundation that's been on hiatus since I took over, and has only really been in use with the History Association as a part of a joint plaquing project. But past that, I have, because so much of my time has been alone without employees, I have not been able to really focus on that part. But it is a high priority when I have the staffing to support it.
Okay, all right. Because, I mean, we have to start a whole discussion. We know that Friends, we're looking for support from Friends for the Carter Park thing, but we may need to break that up with them, let's say, focusing on one aspect of Carter Park to raise funds for, and maybe the chamber be looking at fundraising for Carter Park, because of the fact that Carter Park is in downtown Half Moon Bay. It is going to be not just for the community who live here, it's going to be for businesses and, and people visiting. And so it's, it's something that could create a lot of additional just people coming to downtown, being in the downtown, using the going into the businesses, as well as attending something going on at Carter Park. So I feel that there may be, a good opportunity for a sponsorship from businesses, whether it's for the stage or for there's all different components to the Carter Park project. So definitely would want to have a discussion and see what we can do in that way.
So Chair, can I speak to that briefly?
Who's
John.
John?
Sorry.
John, okay, yeah, great.
Just to say this, the city can and does, basically receive the donations regularly. Did with the library, it can with this project. So the fact that the chamber may not have a 501c3 is really not a huge issue. If the chamber wishes to be an active participant in fundraising for this, they can do so, and that money can be run through the city. We have a donation policy in place from the council, so we're more than happy to do that. And the city basically functions as a 501c3 equivalency. You get tax deduction, the same tax deductions if it's truly a donation as you would with any 501c3. So I think it's really the issue of interest and commitment than it is for finding somewhere for them to put their money and provide that. We're happy to take their money.
Okay, fine,
Put it to
very
Carter
good,
Park.
very good.
But the chamber could definitely help in the fundraising efforts, and we have a history of that with the medians, and again with this history.
Yeah, no, I think it would be wonderful, Crystalline, I really do. Yeah.
Totally.
Any comments or questions from other commissioners for Crystalline?
Can I just add too, real quick?
Oh,
I was just
sure.
gonna say, the Friends can also support as a nonprofit as well to help with fundraising efforts.
Right. Oh, we're depending on the Friends.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, absolutely, we should connect Crystalline and talk more, but we could definitely support things going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Crystalline, for coming in and giving us that update. I love the idea. I'm looking forward. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to pull it off.
Awesome. And then if everybody could just give me a go Misfits, I'm gonna go play some softball.
All right, go for it. Wonderful. All right, what do we now? We've got the art policy, draft of the art policy review and discussion.
So Victor, kudos to Victor for really leading this and putting this forward and getting it on this agenda, I think, in front of all and beyond all of our expectations of getting it there. So thank you,
I'm
Victor.
thrilled. Yes,
Take
thank
it away.
you, Victor. Yay.
I made it one of my main focuses for the last month. Just wanted to get it out here. And one thing I will say before diving into the art policy that you may have noticed on our social media or e-news, based on a recommendation from Commissioner Adam Eisen, the last meeting, we did post on social media and e-news about the deaccessioning of the happening sculptures. So that's out on Nextdoor, it's everywhere.
Yep.
People
Yes,
are aware.
I've
We've
seen it
received some
everywhere.
questions already. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure that everyone was aware of that before it's actually removed. Because
Yeah.
that was a good point that questions may arise from the public. So just wanted to address that. But now I'll dive into the policy. I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Perfect. So similar to the presentation last time, what I'll do is I'll go through each individual section, and the draft policy was included in the agenda packet. I hope some of you had time to review it because it is a lot of text, and I apologize for that in advance. But I did want to include the text on here similar to when I presented the deaccessioning policy. We'll just go through section by section and take comments for each section. And if you need me to go back or jump around, that's fine as well. Or you can also provide comments after the meeting. But starting with the general section, which includes the purpose and scope of the policy, this is unchanged from the last time this was presented in July. So the purpose is, the purpose of the policy is for public art. Public art can contribute to the culture and economic vitality of Half Moon Bay, enhance the quality of life in the city. And the purpose of this policy is to provide a process through which the city of Half Moon Bay can commission public art projects and accept or deny gifted artwork, and so on and so forth. So that's the general purpose of the policy. And then I've included the scope of the policy as well below. So this is unchanged from the last meeting, but this is the first section.
Okay, first section.
This is the first section of the policy, yeah.
Okay, first section can contribute. I'm kind of like, when I saw that, I said, wait a minute, public art will contribute.
Okay. Easy change.
Okay. And then, okay, so you've done scope. Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, yeah, it looks great from my standpoint.
Okay. And everything in this policy, I think I might have mentioned last time, has been Frankenstein from multiple other policies. So most of this is pretty consistent with what other cities have already approved. I just tried to make it fit something for Half Moon Bay. Just moving on, the administration. This is also unchanged from the last time presented in July. So the gist of it is that the Parks and Recreation Commission, or the PRC, will oversee the public art program and the policy, and that proposals for any artwork will be presented to this group initially, and then the Parks and Recreation Commission will then make a recommendation to the City Council for final determination. Moving on, last time I mentioned the Public Art Fund, so now I have some details on that. So it is being proposed that a Public Art Fund be established. And I think, Chair Eisen, this was a question you had last time on what the purpose of the fund would be, and it would be to house contributions made by the City Council, if they make any contributions, and to receive gifts, grants, donations, or other art-related revenue. And only expenses related to the design, fabrication, and installation of artwork are permitted to be permitted uses for this fund. And in the next two slides, I'll go over a lot more detail for allowable expenses and expenses that are not allowed. For allowable expenses, there's quite a few, but again, all of them relate directly to the art and installation of the art and the maintenance of the art. And then for the expenses that are not allowed, they're, again, not necessarily directly related to the art or the installation of the art, but more like, not using these funds for locating artists, for landscaping around the artwork, utility fees associated with any of the artwork, publicity. Presumably there are other ways to fund some of those things, but it just didn't seem like a good idea to include that as a use of these funds. And again, all of this is subject to change on your recommendation. If you think that one of the proposed expenses that are not allowed should be allowed, we can make that change.
Yeah, I'd say that's those are those last two are the ones that I when I saw it, I kind of thought, well, wait a minute. Maybe funds should be able to be used, I'm thinking, for any of those things, the educational materials, publicity, public relations, the dedication ceremony, including artwork unveiling or grand opening. I mean, you know, I mean, we want to have some funds, I think, to be able to put towards when we finally have something wonderful that we want to unveil and publicize. We want to have some money to be able to do that.
Okay.
I mean, on the other hand, I guess the concern would be that the more money we spend on some of those things that might be covered by another expense, like, or another source of funding, the less money you have to actually acquire the art and pay artists.
Yeah, I think that was one of the original thoughts in including these in expenses that are not allowed from the public art fund. And again, some of these might naturally happen through some of the work the city does, like publicity or PR.
Right.
You know, we already have a communications department. We would naturally publicize things.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And maybe same thing with dedication ceremonies. Some of that might just naturally happen from the city manager's office.
So meaning that there's other funding to cover this and not to include it in the art fund.
I would say
per
so.
se. Yeah,
It's-
okay,
it's
I'm
not
fine
in
with
it-
that.
Yeah,
Well,
I would put it, I would maybe say this, Chair. It's not that these won't get done, it's just they won't get done and paid for
Yeah.
by this fund.
Right,
Correct. Mhm.
yeah, good. I'm fine, that's good.
Moving on, the next section would be the artist selection for commissioned art. For this, we have there were certain qualifications that artists must meet for commissioned art. And so here we have some of the proposed artist qualifications. And so this would be in the case that the city would seek an artist to commission a piece specifically for a specific site. These are some of the proposed qualifications that we'd look for in an artist. And these are pretty consistent with some of the qualifications that are typical when looking for artists for commission artwork.
Seems good.
And a couple more qualifications or areas of experience that would be looked at, such as successful collaborations with other cities, organizations, can they meet deadlines, stuff like that. And also looking at their architectural style, if it fits within the community.
You just have an extra bullet there, like it should be similar in scope to the proposed public art. But
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Oops. I do see that.
this seems good to me.
Is that a consensus? Okay with that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, is that a consensus on that page there?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
Next up, we have the section for gifted or donated artwork. We're hoping that people will gift or donate artwork to our city.
Yep.
For this, the Parks and Recreation Commission will evaluate all artwork proposed to be gifted. And then, as I stated previously, make a recommendation to the City Council for final acceptance or rejection of the gifted artwork. And here we have 3 different sections that I'll go over in the next couple of slides. First, the application and letter of interest section. Next, what goes into the presentation to the Parks and Recreation Commission, and then finally the review and recommendation of the City Council. And these are larger sections, so I'll go through them one at a time. This is the process being proposed for the application letter of interest and some of the things that would be looked at. And what would be required in that letter of interest from any donor. Again, all pretty standard description of the artwork, specifications, materials, colors, etc.
Yep. All good.
And if they meet all that criteria in our initial staff review, then the donor would potentially be scheduled to present their proposal to the Parks and Recreation Commission as an agenda item at a regular meeting of the commission. The donor would then present either the actual artwork if it's small enough, or a model or a scale drawing of the proposed piece if it's not possible to bring in the actual artwork. And these are some of the criteria that are being proposed that the commission use when evaluating that piece of artwork. So aesthetics, quality, style, its permanence, etc.
That all makes sense.
Mhm.
And then, assuming the commission approves it, it would then be, oh, sorry, there's more here actually. Other factors that would be considered in addition to the selection criteria, which, in addition to the site selection criteria, which I'll discuss in the next few slides, considering the visibility, lighting, if it's a public safety, presence of public safety issue, impacts to facility and programs, traffic.
Yep.
And then finally, the review and recommendation by the city council. City council would review the recommendation from the commission and either vote to accept, delay, or reject the gifted artwork.
Good.
And then for site selection, I made this a standalone section because it applies to both commissioned artwork and or gifted or donated artwork. And these are some of the criteria that are considered when determining a site, and something that can be done ahead of time in addition to this policy is coming up with a list of different sites, something that I've discussed with Matthew as a project for next year, because it's probably a much larger project than just a policy, is coming up with some sort of master plan. As John probably knows, for the parks master plan, it's quite an undertaking. So that is a potential project for next year. And in that, we could potentially look more closely at sites for siting artwork.
I like that a lot. I think having a master plan of all the different places and areas, you know, that we can enhance with public art is a fantastic way to start off the whole program. I think that's great.
Yeah.
And then installation and maintenance is one section where we're still working on internally. Obviously, the city would be involved in some capacity, but we're still working out those kinks. So that is one that we'll bring back in the next version of the draft.
Great. I'm so thrilled, Victor. Oh, we still got a little.
Still two more sections. Yeah. So removal artwork, it's included in most policies, but because we already have a deaccessioning policy,
right,
we'll just include this. And then finally, public art on private property is one section we thought important to include. Public art may occasionally be cited on private property, and in those instances, the city shall enter into individual agreements with private property owners. And we listed a couple of the criteria and specifics that we would include in those agreements. Each of these agreements would be different on a case-by-case basis. And this is where I do have some experience. When I worked at the county, some of the murals in North Fair Oaks were all individual agreements with private property owners, and each one was different. But we did want to include it because, you know, we do see the opportunity for citing public art on private property in the city.
Absolutely. That's great that you put that in. I can think of one spot immediately, but there's many that are on private property that would be great if we could get some public art on there. This is great. I'm just so happy you did this and that we have this to look at. And I think you did a great job looking through all the sections. That was great. Go ahead.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So for next steps, gathering feedback tonight, refining the sections throughout September and early October, conducting some public outreach throughout September and early October, and then planning on presenting the second draft in October. And for public outreach, I've actually already started and reached out to the Coastal Arts League, ALAS, the Half Moon Bay History Association, the Half Moon Bay Beautification Committee, the Boys and Girls Club, the Coast Side, the Half Moon Bay IDES Society, and the Half Moon Bay Coastside Chamber of Commerce. Reached out to all of them for feedback. I've heard back from a few already. I actually believe that I saw that Scott Fraser from the History Association is here tonight. He had emailed me with a comment. And if he's still on, I'd like to let him provide that comment.
Sure. I saw that he was there before. Let's see if he's still with us.
Yeah, his hand is raised.
Oh, okay, good, great.
Hey, Scott, you're on.
All right, Scott, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Good evening, everyone. I'm not here on behalf of Half Moon Bay History today, but on that note, thank you guys as always for considering us as part of the deassociation policy. That's we certainly enjoy being involved in that to protect some of the historical aspects. On my private life, I've done a lot of pro bono work for Attorney of the Arts, and quite a bit of the work that I've done has always involved trademark. And just as a longtime citizen here in Half Moon Bay, I started imagining the situation where we have something like the moon that's south of town, or something that becomes an integral piece of artwork to the landscape, to a welcoming area, etc. That of course is going to get a good public identity with how people perceive Half Moon Bay. And those things will invariably make their way into advertisements for hotels, realtors ads, etc. And I was hoping that you guys might consider, when you're spending public money on this, or allowing it to be donated, which is going to give the artist quite a bit of publicity, that they agree to some sort of limited license so we don't run into problems with some commercial use unintentionally by our local merchants. Perhaps they can be considered in part of the process, and I'd be more than thrilled to help you guys draft some sort of agreement for that if you'd like me to do so.
That's a great idea.
Well, that was it. Nice night. I'll see you in the emails.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. Thank you so
Certainly
much
something we
for
can
that.
consider and including in the policy as well.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I want to talk about this timeline. Because my fear is, one of the things I really want to make sure happens is that before this year is over, that we have a policy that's been agreed to and adopted by our city council. So I'm a little concerned about the timeline, because if we, you're looking at a refinement in our October session, which means that when do we actually approve the policy from the commission that then would go in front of city council? Because it's November hits, we're in Thanksgiving holidays, and then of course December.
I'll just jump in on that. There's no reason in October you can't approve a policy and send that forward to the council. The council has 2 meetings in October. But
that would be November.
But it will be after that one,
yeah.
so we'll go to November or December meeting. So I don't think there's anything about the schedule that would preclude adoption of a formal final policy this calendar year, rather than fiscal year.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
good. So let's make sure that that's what we're shooting for, is that we are going to vote on this at our October meeting, so that we can move this forward. But yes, I like the next steps. All of those, I was going to. I didn't know you were going to, talk about that, because I had my list of what, and so you're covering that. That's great, and that needs to happen. Getting it all out to the artistic community and everything like that, so that they and the historical society, all of that, so that they can look at this stuff and see if there's anything that either doesn't sit well with them or that we didn't include that needs to be included. So
And
all good.
Chair, if I could, I'll take some responsibility for perhaps this maybe slower than you would like. One of the things you'll note is the maintenance, and that section is a TBD. We're still trying to figure that one out a little bit in terms of whether it's in the policy or whether it's basically dealt with on a case-by-case basis. And I think that's still a bit on the issue. My concern, I'll just put out there, is that, we can certainly keep, we can clean it, we can keep the landscaping around it nice. But when we start having issues with a piece of artwork, I get concerned about what cleaning solutions I might put on there that will ruin something.
Right.
Or, my guys are cleaning the thing, or it starts to crack, or we have the spalling of concrete like we did down in the park at Kitty Fernandez and stuff. So part of this issue is that I'm asking for a little bit of clarity in terms of what my crew is responsible for, because I don't want to damage a valuable piece of art by not knowing what I'm doing. So there is a little bit of that I think we still need to work through within our own shop. And again, it may just be a recommendation that we basically deal with the maintenance side of this on a case-by-case basis, depending on the type of artwork that it is. So I'll own some of the responsibility for maybe.
That could be put into the policy also.
It could.
A case by case basis.
Absolutely.
So that it's in there and that you're able to cover yourself in that way.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, one of the things that I had down, and I don't know if it's standard, not standard, but I think that there should be, whether it's every 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I think we should always be reviewing our policies. And so that, because we're in a world where change is the only thing that we can count on. And so, it's always good to audit, review, and see if we have what we need in place to move forward for the next 5 years, or do we need to make some changes, some amendments? So it would be good to build that into.
That's a very reasonable ask.
Yeah. Okay.
And I assume there's consensus around there, but that's an easy ask.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions from the other commissioners? Adam?
Yeah. I was in Pacifica yesterday, and I see they've got a whole art. Have you seen their art? Their way to raise money and their communication with the community, that they've got like all these posters up all over the place about how you can donate to the community for increased art in the city of Pacifica. And I thought it was a good program. And I don't know, again, if it's tied directly to Parks and Rec, which I didn't think, and I haven't done the research, or if it was its own separate entity. And it was kind of like, do you appreciate having this mural? Well, here's the way to donate for future murals in the city of Pacifica. Next time I'm up there, I'll take a picture of it and send it to you guys. But I liked the thought process, and it goes really well with this conversation. So just throwing that out there. And I'm sure you guys, talk to all those people. I'm sure you know the whole group.
Commissioner, I think this is a two-part process. One is establishing the policy. At some point, the community will have to advocate during budget season time that the council maybe set some money aside within the budget for this and this program in the best of times and good times, particularly. And then secondly, or thirdly in that mix is the issue of how do you develop the strategy for fundraising and getting people's interest in the arts and doing that. And so let's get the first piece done, and then we can work on kind of that other issue, with that. It's kind of like get Carter Park, get money from the state. Now we can have the fun of looking for a little bit more money to bridge the gap a little bit.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Also.
All right, great. Pat, yeah.
Yes. One thing always to consider, and this is always in the back of my mind in quite a few cities with public art policies and what have you, they do start looking at tax as a tax. I mean, if you want art, you have to pay for it somehow. Well, cities are not in a position to actually, they can support them, but they not necessarily can fund an entire project, but we can look at our tax base. So I think that's something, a seed I would like to plant. Thank you.
All right. Noted. Very good. All right. Anyone else? Luis has joined us a little while back. Any comments or anything? Or are you still there? Yeah, you're still there. Okay, good.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just eating my dinner, but no, everything sounds fine.
Okay. All right, good.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you again, Victor. Great work. This is, I'm just so jazzed that we've got the ball rolling here. And speaking about being jazzed, here's another ball that we want to talk about, which is sand volleyball update.
Yay. Okay. So just I'll be really quick because we're getting late. We're really excited. We have a beach volleyball pilot program that we now have been approved to move forward with. It's going to be 3 courts south of Kelly Beach, so on Poplar Beach, the north side of Poplar Beach. There are going to be courts that are temporary, built out of redwood posts, and then but we'll have some nice really high quality but affordable beach volleyball nets that will be put up for a 90-day trial period, during which we'll evaluate how it works and sort of pay attention to the usage in the area. So we're really excited to get this all going.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yay.
That's perfect.
All
I
right.
like the
Yay.
whole
And we have volunteers who are going to help put some of that together and work with the city. They're volunteers, but they are the heads of some big volleyball clubs and have built courts in actually Menlo Park, at Flood Park in Menlo Park. So they have tons of experience and it'll be great. So our staff is going to work with them and get all educated about the creation of beach volleyball courts.
so exciting. So
Yeah.
exciting. Thank
Oh,
you,
Yeah.
Hillary
If I
and
could,
Adam.
before
for
we
the work
end that,
that
I
you've
know
done
Adam
on
wants to
this. Yeah.
talk. I know Adam wants to talk too.
No, I mean, really, I'm just impressed with the work that Hillary's. I think Matthew, I don't think, is he not on the call tonight?
He's not, he's
out.
on vacation.
Too
He's on
bad.
vacation.
He's been awesome.
Yay, he earned it.
Yeah, he does. And really just, it's been an amazing collaboration of different people making this happen. I'm sure Eddie was involved. I don't know how all the people, but no, pretty awesome to see something come to fruition like this. I'm excited to play.
Yeah.
I really
Just
want to
great.
plug a lot, one person, really, Matthew. He you know, and obviously the enthusiasts, you know, your subcommittee and the other enthusiasts in the community, you know, they carried this, but Matthew on our side just carried this forward, worked with and talked with Jill Ekus at Community Development. Jill carried this to the Coastal Commission to make sure that they were good, brought it to the Planning Commission last night. You know, I'm just, you know, I'm lucky to be here tonight to be part of the good news, but I played no part in this, but I want to make sure that the others are acknowledged. And again, thank
They
the
were amazing.
community.
Such good
Absolutely.
partners.
Matthew,
Yeah, they were amazing
Matthew carried the water on this one, I have to say.
Yes,
And
he was
just to
so
let
great.
everyone know too, this isn't going to be a long, drawn-out process. We actually purchased all those materials for the equipment down at the beach on Friday, so
Fabulous.
it's already starting. And
Awesome, that's what I
sooner
didn't
than later.
know.
Great.
Thank you. So
Now,
do we know
okay.
when it's going to be, when it will arrive?
It's a big shipment of stuff.
Okay.
I think the price tag on it was around $4,800. So it's going to be a shipment of things that'll be delivered here, and I believe it's got a 2-week lead time. So we
Okay.
should be receiving it in about that 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if, because I thought that it was FedEx ground, which takes around 5 to 7 days, but I didn't know how long it takes to process the order and stuff. So cool.
All right, well,
Thank you
this is
for
just, this great. Future items to review, future items preview.
Well, you know, I'm your substitute. I don't have any to talk
Okay,
about.
then I've got things. And then we'll see if any of my other commissioners jump in and let me know. I am still, since I am always on this coastal path almost every single day, I'm still going back to that whole thing of getting that coastal path to be a real good coastal path, which it is not. You know, we've already discussed all the things that really need to be done to that coastal path. Of course, being wider, having a midline, getting out all the cracks and all. I mean, it's just it is a shameful. It's in shameful condition, given how critical it is to us as people who live here and to our visitors who come here. So I still want to see that we are doing something to get together with the state, with the county, and see what we can do to collaborate about doing something about this condition of our coastal path.
Sorry, I had an interruption, but I get where you're going with it. And actually, I'll throw in this for a future preview item. We have a new reconstituted Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee. We are at this point looking at the September meeting being a joint meeting with the Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Oh, okay, good.
Our hope is that this will be a conversation that's fruitful. We can find you know,
Perfect.
interest among each other and perhaps start the conversation on a strategy to engage the other parties in this with regard to their maintenance efforts and
Perfect.
that.
I
So
mean, yeah, that's perfect.
thank you for jogging my memory. It takes a
Yeah,
while.
that's
but
that's great.
That was a
You
big
know.
one, and I can't, but you shook it. You shook it
Fabulous.
out of me. So thank you.
Fabulous.
Can we
yeah.
create a subcommittee on the coastal trail?
Let's have this meeting first with the bike and pedestrian path group, and then see what we want to do from that. I think that you know, let's first get together, have this joint meeting, and then let's look at, okay, what if anything are we as the Parks and Rec Commission can do.
I think if I could, that's kind of the issue is what your commission role is versus other parties in this, including the Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and then also ultimately the council in terms of, and the city manager in terms of dealing with the intergovernmental relations. You know, so I think having that conversation is one that's worthwhile. But let's hold on that one until we have a better conversation. With that,
I agree. All right, update. I'd like to see us do an update on where we are with the goals that we set at the beginning of the year. You know, have kind of that mid-year audit of looking at how we're doing. The other thing I'd like to talk about, you said something about it, John, when you were talking about Smithfield, and I would like to continue on the Smithfield situation, but you know, we need a large dog park. We need for large dogs. We need a dog park for large dogs. What we currently have, I think, is sufficient for the small dogs. But we don't have anything for larger dogs. And we really need that. Almost everybody I know has a dog. And even when I babysit my grand dog, I end up literally taking this dog over the hill to a dog park. That's crazy.
Okay. That's an item in the master plan that was something that was identified, and I will say, we have had many conversations about how do we get the landfill at Poplar potentially used for a portion of that for a larger dog.
Absolutely, because
dog
that's what
park.
I saw when I
Yeah,
was, where
so-
was I? In San Mateo, I believe it was, when
Yeah.
I took the grand, that it was
Sure,
on
sure.
what was originally a, landfill.
Yep.
So
That's
good.
so weird that you could make it that area a dog park though, and not a beach volleyball court. It seems like you'd run into the same problems.
Well, it's all about I mean, we can debate that one, but it's all about the level of improvement and everything with that deal. But
Okay.
I'm not saying we can. It's still owned by the county. We don't control either of those
Yeah.
parcels that we were talking about with it. And again, if we want to go back to the Poplar, we can talk about the trail. We just bifurcated that from the gateways plan, because the gateways plan had a very specific defined area and had an issue with regard to initiative from the community that said it'll be passive only. So there's a number of reasons for that, but it's always open for a new conversation.
All right, those are the items that I had. Anybody have anything else that you would like to see for future items?
No, I just want to say though that I do think that if we don't create some kind of coastal trail committee, I think it's going to be really hard to make any type of progress very quickly. Although I do know that the city has, you guys have been working hard on that Poplar Street improvement, and it sounds like that is going to be happening soon, which is awesome. And that did not require any type of subcommittee, or just like plowing ahead, which is great. But I do think that it's going to be very
I understand,
hard to
Hillary,
make
and I'm
progress,
with you.
so.
I'm with you, but who knows? Maybe we can have a subcommittee that includes Parks and Rec people and people from the Bike and Pedestrian Access Committee, and maybe some other potential, stakeholders, so that we have like a really good group who are dedicated to making this thing happen. So let's just, as I say, let's just start with meeting with the Bike and Pedestrian, and then feel out what would be the right thing to get the momentum going to continue. Because you and I mean, I'm right with you. It's just we need to find the right way to attack this.
And I will only say this and close out from that conversation. You're dealing with folks who are not always the easiest folks to deal with. They
Right.
are looking for who has the clout in the room. And the bottom line is, I'm going to say this, is that at staff level, we find it difficult sometimes to move the meter, move the,
Right.
the needle, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
A commission subcommittee is frankly not going to have a lot of sway, over how the state parks folks manage and maintain their property. So that's an issue that I think that's the
Unless our
conversation we
cousin
need to
is the
have.
head of state parks, so you never know who you might find with the right connections. And that's another story.
There's just
Yeah.
that's just unfortunately reality. Bob struggles with it himself. We all do at times, trying
Right.
to even find the right person to talk to deal with it. But when we do, they're very nice people, but
That
they
all
have to
makes sense.
report- Yeah.
I think there are only going to be certain people that can talk to certain people and make a difference, my guess is.
Right.
I just feel like in terms of laying the foundation for a plan of who needs to talk to who and stuff,
Yeah.
that's where I feel like
We
it'll be useful,
understand.
but it's fine. We can drop it for now.
This will be part of that conversation. I think it'll come out with the BPAC as well. So
Right.
we'll make sure
Right.
it's a conversation in that joint meeting.
So nothing else? Well, let's go to report outs. Any report outs? whatever the heck that is. Let's go to commissioner comments.
Well, report out, I think report outs is
Oh.
about your subcommittees or whatever. You already got your report.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
That's
good.
what that
All
is
right.
typically about, is report outs from subcommittees. Or if you
okay.
if you attended training or you attended a community event that you needed to report on and deal with it. That's what that.
All right, very good, very good. Commissioner comments. Again, one of the things, and John, tell me what it is, what tree do we have to shake? Because I looked at the Community Thursday bulletin, nothing about the upcoming Parks and Recreation meeting. I've been talking about that for every single meeting every month, and I don't understand what it's going to take, who's the right person to talk to, why we cannot make this happen.
I will pass along your request. Jonathan will also pass along your
Bob,
concern.
are you still with us? You haven't been with us. If you're still with us, I don't know. Bob is not. So because I just like what is the big deal?
I mean,
why can this not be done?
Again, we're not going to have a conversation, on this, but just for clarification, are we talking about the community calendar or?
Every Thursday I get a community, a bulletin update from what's happening from the city.
Okay.
And that is the one
e-news,
that I expect to
e-news.
see, because it'll tell me about the architectural review committee. It'll tell me about the planning commission. It'll tell me all but never do I see anything about Parks and Rec. And if it had on it, for instance, Parks and Rec will give a sand volleyball update amongst other things, and the first draft of the art policy, there probably would have been people that would have been interested in those things that would be in our public forum.
I will convey that to Matthew. We'll talk about it. And that's a very simple fix to deal with that. It's just, that there is no set item. What I can say is there are no set items on the e-news. They are, intentionally interchangeable based on the issues at hand at that point and deal with it.
But do we need a separate Parks and Recreation, newsletter that we put out every week or something like that? Because I mean, in that should have also been, and there was no mention about the last concert at McDutra Plaza. I mean, we do not have great communication with our community. It's not in the paper. It's not in this communication. I mean, there's just not enough. And if anything, we have found out in this community that we practically have to hit somebody over the head for them to be aware of an event that's upcoming.
I hear you, and I will convey that to Matthew in his return. And I assure you, I will do whatever I can to make sure folks are aware of that. Jonathan, as you I think are aware, works for the communications department himself, the clerks and communications department. So I'm confident that he will take back the message also to Jessica and the staff there. So
okay, Jonathan.
And Eddie, I think Eddie has certainly used the e-news and everything with that. So I don't, I think it has been used. But maybe not to the extent that the commission and the community feels is necessary to convey that information. So,
well, I think you guys are doing a great job communicating just communicating regularly through that weekly update. I think that's a great tool. But yeah, I was talking to Chair Eisen about this, and it was kind of like, yeah, we should include some of our, let's toot our own, get our information out there a little bit too. So I love the idea of this. Not sure the right venue. I'm sure you guys will figure it out. Maybe it's Eddie communicating what he wants to have in there, every week, because it would be, especially the concerts. I think it's absolutely, it's a big audience that gets that weekly update at this point. So great information. And then of course, back to tooting our own horn, like a win, like volleyball courts, like, people are going to see them. They're not going to know where the heck they came from. It's
Well,
like,
I think we, so, that's one of those I would say is and again, we're in a debate and discussion, which is kind of out of commissioner comments. So we do it. I will say this, there will be something in the next e-news about the volleyball.
Well, it should be
I
beach
will
volleyball
assure you
coming to
that if I
Half
have to
Moon
write,
Bay.
if I have to write it myself.
got
I
it,
will
he's got
assure
it,
you
yeah.
it's in there.
Well, and I would say Friends is happy to help with communication to our group, like our membership in our community. So whatever we can do to help you guys, we're happy to do that too. Like that, every other month now we have a newsletter, e-newsletter going out. Happy to help with that too. So
Good.
just let us
Thank
know what
you.
want us to put in, we're happy to do it.
Great.
And I think that I would say this, only this, you're wanting, you're discussing coming back and having an update on your goals and everything with that. It's been a while since I've looked at those, but my guess is there's some of that is in communication and a conversation with that. So that's a place I think to have a very, conversation about whether you have enough, and where you are with your goals with regard to communications and outreach. And I'm gonna be the buzzkill because I'm guilty of it too. We've probably gone well beyond the commissioner comments sort of piece to this deal, but anyway, I'll shut up.
Yeah, now you've reminded me. Yes, that was one of the goals.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, well, interesting. Wasn't even thinking that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else before we say goodnight?
I just want to
All
say
right.
thank you to John and Bob for stepping in today and filling in for Matthew. Big shoes to fill, size 15 or 16, I'm guessing.
Yeah, sorry, my nines fall well short.
No, you did great. Thank you,
You
John.
did great. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night. Stay safe.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good
Everyone.
night.